We've harvested compost, and look at this pile. Rich, dark, sweet-smelling, finished compost. It is ready to use, but we are not quite ready to use it. What are we going to do with this? How do you store finished compost? Hi, I'm Amy Landers with GardensThatMatter.com, where we believe that your garden is the key to better food, a better life, and a better planet. And in this video, we are going to answer a question we got from a viewer. Here's what Rhonda asked. What have you found to be the best way to store compost for future use? Great question, Rhonda. She asked this question in the comment section of our Quick Start to Composting series. We'll include a link for that below because it takes you from knowing nothing about composting to creating finished compost like this. But once you have it, what are you going to do with it? Well, we are going to talk about 5 ways to store finished compost. But first, before we dive into that, I want to think about, what does compost need? Compost is full of living organisms. If you've created good, healthy compost, it is full of life. I can look at this and see roly-polies and springtails and all kinds of tiny insects. And I know that there's even more bacteria and fungi in this compost. And that's great. We want that. That's what's going to be so beneficial for our garden. But we need to keep them alive when we store it. These living organisms need food, water, and air. Now, food is easy. This is compost. It's full of organic matter. It's made of organic matter. All of that breaking down material, they'll just keep breaking it down, making it into complex structures, breaking those structures down. Plenty of food. Moisture, we want to keep our compost from drying out to be dusty dry. It's fine for it to get a little bit drier. You know, when we're making compost, we want it to be like a wet sponge, a wrung out sponge. But when you're storing it, it can get a little bit drier. But if it's super dry or you're storing it in a dry place, you may need to add some moisture occasionally. And then air. We know they're living things. They need to have air to survive. So when we're storing it, we want to keep that in mind. So now that we know our organisms need food, water, and air, we're going to make a decision about one of these 5 options. And the first thing to consider is how much space you have. Do you have space in the area where you compost for a second bin? If so, then the best, easiest option is just to leave that compost in the bin and move it when you're ready. Start your next compost bin in a second one. Now, if that's not going to work for you, the next option is to create a pile. Maybe you can create a pile next to your existing compost bin and store it there. Cover it with a tarp to protect it from the rain. You don't want the rain seeping through and leaching those good organic nutrients out into the soil under your compost bin. You want those to move out to the garden. So whether it's in your bin or in a pile, you're going to cover it. The other good thing about having it out in a bin or next to your bin, it's easy, right? It's convenient, but it's also still connected to the soil. So you're going to have organisms moving up from the soil into your compost. You'll probably have earthworms and all kinds of other critters in there, continuing to make it an even better product to bring to your garden. Now, what if you don't have that kind of space? You're going to want to store the compost maybe in a shed or a basement or the eave of a building. You want to put it in containers. And I want you to think 2 containers. The first one is a bag, not a garbage bag. A garbage bag wouldn't be able to breathe, so those organisms wouldn't have the air that they need. Think of things like an old feed sack, a polypropylene bag, maybe those fabric grocery bags. We have one that the handle's blown off of, so that would be fine to store compost in. You can also store it in a burlap bag. Now, keep in mind, this compost is moist, and so where you store it, there will be some moisture on the bottom of that bag. It'll be kind of damp. And so you probably don't want to put it on a nice wooden floor where that would ruin the floor. So keep that in mind when you're storing it, that the bag will get moist from the compost inside. The other portable option number 4, would be a plastic container or a bucket. Now, any kind of plastic container could work for this. If you leave the lid off, you're going to have enough airflow. If you want to cover it, you do need to make sure you have some ventilation holes in there so that you have air movement for the living organisms in your compost. Now, our favorite kind of plastic container for this use would be a 5-gallon bucket. 5-gallon bucket, easy to come by. Often you can find them recycled or inexpensively at least. Then, when you're ready to take that compost to the garden, you've got an easy handle, grab that bucket and head on out. Now, Rhonda, the 5th way to store your finished compost is to put it into the garden bed where you're going to use it, which I guess technically isn't storing it. But even if you're not ready to plant, even if it's fall and you know you're not going to plant until spring, you can put the compost onto that garden bed and it will continue to cure and mature. It'll break down more. It'll feed the soil organisms there. If it's going to go into winter, you could cover it with a coarser mulch like straw or leaves, and that's going to protect it and regulate the temperature and the moisture of that compost. Come springtime, that garden bed is going to be beautiful. Thank you for your question, Rhonda. I hope you found this video useful. If you want to watch the video that Rhonda watched about how to create this compost, definitely look for our Quick Start to Composting video series in the links with this video. If you are ready for more advanced training and you want to really dig into what it takes to create healthy, living, abundant soil, I invite you to check out Foundations of a Happy Garden. This is our premium course about soil building. It's an 8-part multimedia course that teaches you how to bring your soil to life using compost, cover crops, mulch, and more. Come on over to gardensthatmatter.com to check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and until I see you again, happy gardening! Are you ready to film a video about compost? Why, yes, I am. Ba-da-da, 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 ba-da-da. My feet are asleep, but I'm not sure I can stand up on them. We're out of light.